But here's what makes the psalm so powerful, because while they're praying for God to smile on them, they're praying not as a people who don't know nothing about God. These are people who have a history with God. Like all of us in here, they got some history with God. They can look back over their journey and say, God has been gracious to us, and God has been good to us, and God has been merciful to us, and God has blessed us. And so their prayer is not simply asking God for something new, that they are asking God, and they're testifying in the prayer that we wouldn't be here without God. The prayer is an implicit recognition that they are where they are because God has been merciful to them. Are y'all still here? And when they look at where they've come from, when they look at how it started and how it's going. Amen. I learned that the other day. How it started, how it's going. That when they look at where God has brought them from, they have enough humility to realize that I still need God for the rest of the way. And so they pray, may God bless us still. And beloved, that's where I am this morning, that after another year of life, I can look back and recognize that there are some things that only God can get the credit for. That whatever is good, whatever has happened favorably in my life, it's only God getting the credit for whatever has happened in my life. Y'all still, and this psalm reveals, I believe, three truths that all of us have to acknowledge and recognize as we ask God to continue smiling on us. I'm going to give it to you really quickly, so stay with me, and I'm going to be out of your way. Somebody say amen. The first thing that we have to realize that the prayer helps us to understand is that we didn't get here because we earned it. We didn't get here. Wherever your here is, you didn't get here because you earned it. You did not. I know you think highly of yourself. I know you are accomplished. I know you think you're all of that, but you didn't get here because you earned it. The psalmist begins and he says, may God be gracious unto us. That word gracious comes from the root word grace, which is God's unmerited favor. Y'all missing. Y'all miss your shout. He doesn't say, God, give us what we deserve. He doesn't say, God, reward us for doing the right things. He says, God, if you would, be gracious. Just be gracious. Have grace upon us. And that word tells us that they understood that grace is something you can't earn. It's just something that you receive because God had mercy on you. In fact, when God gave this blessing to the priests in Numbers, he says, when you pray the prayer, after you've prayed it and pronounced the blessing on them, he says, and then I will bless them. In other words, Aaron could speak the words, but God was going to do the blessing. The priest could announce the blessing, but only God could perform the blessing. And by the time we get to Psalm 67, the people understand that if we are blessed, God did it. That if we got blessings in our lives, it's because God blessed us. If we made it this far, it's because God did what we couldn't do for ourselves. If his face is shining upon us, it's not because we earned it, it's because God just had favor on us. And when we start talking about how far we've come, if we're not careful, we can start trying to sound like we're tooting our own horn and reciting our own resume. That I worked hard, I got a good education, I saved my money the right way, I raised my family, I made the right connections. But let me tell you something, baby, it wasn't nothing to do with you. If the truth be told, there's some gaps in your resume that you can't explain. There's some opportunities you know you didn't deserve. You got approved for a loan. You don't know how you got approved for the loan. You got some favor in your life because you prayed a prayer. In fact, you didn't even pray the prayer. Your mama didn't pray the prayer, and God is blessing you because of what they prayed. And if you can ever get over yourself long enough to realize, I know me, I don't deserve it, just bless me anyhow. I know I didn't do the right stuff. I know I made some mistakes. I know I've taken some wrong turns. I know I colored outside the lines. I know I haven't always lived right. But God looked beyond all of my faults and saw my need. And so I thank him for smiling on me. Every now and then people ask me at work, they want my advice on how to do this or that and how to get here. I said, let me tell you something. I don't know how I got here. If you want me to tell you something, I really can't tell you. I'm not trying to be hyper spiritual. All I'm trying to tell you is you need to pray to the same God I pray to, because whatever God has done for me, God has done can do for you. But don't ever mistake that what you see God doing through me has anything to do with me. It was only God. And you need to give credit where credit is due. God's grace and favor upon my life, because grace is the story of my life. Grace is what gave me another chance. Grace is what covered me when I was messing up. Grace is what corrected me. Grace is what put me in the right places. Grace is what opened the right doors. Grace is what closed the wrong doors. Grace has been my story, and grace has been your story. Grace and mercy is our testimony. You didn't get here because you never messed up. You didn't get here because you always knew the right thing to do. You got here because God said, that's my child, and I'm going to take care of them anyhow. You know you should have lost it all. You know you should have been thrown out to the wolves. You know you should be dead and gone. But God smiled on you, and you didn't earn it. You didn't deserve it, but God. And here I am. Here you are today. And it's only because God smiled on us. We got here by grace, but not only did we get here by grace, we didn't get here by accident. That's the second point. We didn't get here by accident. The verse number 4 says that you rule the people with equity and you guide the nations of the earth. And then that word that I want you to focus on in that verse is that word guide. Because that means that God is directing the path, that God is leading the way, that God is ordering the steps, that God is intentionally moving and orchestrating things so that his purpose comes to pass. In fact, in verse 2, he says, may God be gracious to us and God bless us. But then in verse 2, he says, so that your ways may be known on the earth. Y'all. In other words, God, I want you to bless us so that your purposes, your will, your desires, your mind may be done on earth as it is in heaven. I want you to bless us and be gracious to us so that. In other words, that God is not just doing random things. God is not haphazardly handing out favor. That God is working God's plans and God's purposes in our lives. When you look back over your life, when I look back over my life, we didn't get here by accident. God was intentionally doing things and moving things and positioning things so that we could be where God wanted us to be. Are y'all still with me? That there was intentionality, there was purpose, there was direction, that I couldn't always see it at the time. But when I look back, there were some things I prayed for that didn't happen. There were some things I never expected to happen that did happen. But in the moment, I didn't recognize that God was moving everything according to God's plan. In the moment, my prayer was, Lord, what are you doing? This don't make any sense. But when I look back now, I can connect the dots and see that God was moving. God's hand was in all of it. And at the time, it didn't always make sense. It didn't always feel comfortable. But God helps me to see now that none of that stuff happened by accident. That one of the gifts of getting older is that you get far enough down the road that you can look back and see what you couldn't understand in the moment. And that there were some things that you prayed for, begged God for. Amen, lights. And now you can say, God, thank you for loving me enough to tell me no. Now, thank you for loving me enough and having a plan over my life that you didn't give me what I thought I wanted. Thank you, because sometimes God smiling on you is God saying no, and sometimes it's God saying not that, or God saying not them, or God saying not yet, or not that way. And that changes the way I look at life now, because if God has guided me to where I am, then that means that wherever God has placed me, God has me there for a reason. That maybe wherever you are in life, God has you there on purpose. Maybe he brought you through what he brought you through so that you could help somebody else know how to get through what they're going through. That maybe God has you at that job so that you can be a beacon of light and hope to folk who ain't never going to make it into a church. Maybe God has you in that situation to be his mouthpiece for somebody else. So the psalmist says, bless us so that. I don't want you to miss that part because the psalmist understands that there's a purpose attached to the blessing. That God doesn't bless us merely so that we can say, look how blessed we are. That God doesn't get us where he has us just for us to say, look how far I've come. But God says, I'm blessing you so that. God has a so that attached to all of our stories. I'm almost finished. That he brought you here so that something about him could be revealed in your life. God brought you through that hell. Your testimony could bless somebody else. God brought you through that opportunity so that you could show somebody else how to open a door for somebody else. That maybe God connected you with those people, experience and the wisdom so that his purpose could come forth in your life. And sometimes we spend so much time celebrating what God did that we never stop to ask why. I mean, why? Ain't nothing special about me. Why God blessed me this way? Is it just so I can say, look how blessed I am? Or